and it'll be available live streamed here on Facebook through the Facebook group, the NonProfit Fundraising Hackers. We're all about learning about how we can find innovative and great ways to raise the monies that we need, memberships, etc., without relying on those nasty little grants. I won't get into that. That's a whole other subject there. I've addressed that in live streams prior to this. But all about these little whale hacks that we're trying to find in order to get the word out about these events. Okay, so I'm also going to be joining us. You can see us there as well from Periscope, from YouTube a little bit later on, and then LinkedIn, an abbreviated version of this. So again, if you're joining me, again, my name is Mark Buzan, founder of the Society of Nonprofit Board Directors, two-time executive director and national president of 2 national associations, and founder of our Executive Director Association Management Services, and again, of course, the Society of Nonprofit Board Directors. Today, we're talking about the poverty mentality amongst nonprofit boards, associations, foundations, and the like, and why this is so destructive. What do I mean by a poverty mentality that you have? You might have, perhaps. Maybe you don't think you have, but I'm going to ask you a few questions and put a few points out there. And if you can relate to this, leave it in the comments. I'll try to respond back to you a little bit later, but I do want to point out that there's a link down below that you can join in on this conversation right now here on Zoom. I'll have to engage with you in the comments and the chat there, and I can address them as we're going on this. Technology, unfortunately, doesn't permit me to be able to do all of this all at once on multiple platforms at the same time and still engage with you, so we have to go this route. But use the link down in Zoom to get this out. So the first thing there is, do you have a poverty mentality? Well, board directors, are you asking your executive director, or do you have a suspicion about your executive director and you're hog-tying them on discretionary funding of what they're allowed to spend money on and how much they're allowed to spend money on, to the point that they literally need to breathe. In order to get permission to breathe, they've got to go to the board on something that they might just something come up to before the organization that would be the benefit of the organization. Namely, for example, are you looking twice at any kind of initiative that might involve investing in your own business development within the organization? And I mean by business development, that could be your fundraising initiatives, your sponsorship initiatives, your membership drive, and like these things. Folks, it costs money sometimes to spend money, you got to spend money in order to make money often enough. And if you're not investing in this, and if you're not looking at this as an important investment in the organization, I dare say that perhaps you have a poverty mentality. 2, are you refusing at all, or are you second guessing any kind of discussion, whatever kind that may be, of an investment that you might need to make in business development? I've touched on that before. Not just hog-tied towards your executive director and giving him or her the freedom of reign that they need to be able to do their job, to grow the organization. You probably have a poverty mentality. Are you looking at the budget line by line about how much you spent on paper clips versus pencils or like this? Well, you may have a poverty mentality. Okay, you're missing the bigger picture, the trends. It's important that you have fiduciary responsibility towards the organization, but maybe you're looking at things that you're not looking at the big picture. You may just have a poverty mentality. Are you putting efforts on grants applications? And I've touched on this before. If you have a question on this, why I'm so anti-grant, there's a number of my videos that I've done on Facebook, and particularly in nonprofit fundraising hackers on why I'm not a big fan of them. If you're putting a lot of efforts on grant applications, and your executive director, your staff, and your development director are putting all this effort in this, and you're not measuring at the board discussions the effort that goes in, the time that goes in towards responding to these applications, towards servicing and reporting back to them as well in variation for the money earned, you may inadvertently be producing a poverty mentality. If, for example, you're a membership-driven type of organization, this applies particularly towards associations. okay? Maybe some other nonprofits, but a lot of associations, you're very much about this. And you're not inwardly looking at the return on investment that you're giving towards members for the exchange of their involvement in the organization, and you're simply expecting and sending on the desk, gosh darn it, they should just support us because it's the right thing to do. You may inadvertently be creating a poverty mentality. If you believe that everything is just too expensive, then you can't possibly ever invest in your organization to becoming a better board, to becoming a better fundraiser, to be raising monies as well, or that you have possibly all of the answers already. You may just have a poverty mentality. Look, folks, these are just some of the things like this. We're all guilty of these things at one time or another. But the fact of the matter is that you're not considering any of these issues. Well, there are consequences to this as well. The first of which is, are you noticing, for example, from time to time that you as a board, you come up with great ideas and they just happen to die on the vine all the time? The other consequence sometimes is it comes up about this, and I was on a phone with a founder of a nonprofit just the other day, and they were struggling for money. They didn't want to invest in themselves. They didn't have an ability to invest in themselves. And as a result, their money was just barely coming in from themselves, and they were getting burned out. And board members were sad. Even one of the other founders was saying, maybe I'll come around when things ever change. When things will ever change? How do you expect them to change if you don't invest in yourself and change what needs to be changed? Think about that for a moment. If, for example, you're finding all these things, you've got a poverty mentality, sometimes the consequence of this is that programs are never really serving their full potential, or they're just simply not growing. Discussions as well at the board may always be about rationalizing expenses instead of growing services and reaching your vulnerable populations that you're supposed to be reaching. It doesn't have to be this way, okay? It really doesn't have to be this way. Nonprofit organizations and associations have to be entrepreneurial. You have to understand that, frankly speaking, there's more money out there than you realize, okay? There are memberships. If you've got memberships, there's ways that you can increase memberships. You can tier those memberships to top up memberships as well. If you're a nonprofit, there's plenty of opportunities to hold events and then have tiers of the events and investments of those. There's sponsorship opportunities, all right? There are online fundraising opportunities that branch out to a variety of different things. Tomorrow I'll be interviewing Maya McNulty, the author of Fundraising Secrets, which we're going to be talking a little bit about some of the aspects of online fundraising. We've had another post right in this group earlier today in nonprofit fundraising hackers. We talked about a great resource about how even texting donations online is possible. If you've got a poverty mentality, it means that you're closed off to other brand new ideas. Your focus is wrong. It's not about, okay, how do we fix this problem? It's instead, you should be focused on, okay, we've got this issue, this challenge. Folks, brainstorm. What's out there? What can we do? And who can we get to maybe give us some help on this? There's crowdfunding opportunities out there. There's services that you can offer. There's plenty of resources that are up. Folks, I've done this. I'm not just spouting this out because I'm insulting or anything like that. I'm saying this because I've been where you've been, okay? As the director of business development for a national association, I came into the role and they were in the red. They found out, and that they told me, we had 3 sponsors. That's all we've ever had. We've had never any kind of experience before. And by the way, we need you to come up with $300,000. Gulp. Well, you know what? In the course of 2.5 years that I was with that organization, I came up with $525,000 in new and recurring income. In the first year of that, got $200,000. In the first 90 days, I was able to come up with $20,000, covering off my salary as well. And I did this. I'm not saying this all to brag with you. Is that things changed when I realized the magnitude of the challenge in front of me and said, okay, I got to come up with some out of the box solutions here. And I've got to also admit that maybe I don't know everything. I went out and got help. I got coached. Right? I had a lot of other experiences of raising money beforehand for years and years and years. But to go to that magnitude, it just shows you that if you're open your mind, there are possibilities. Tomorrow, we'll be joined again by Maya McNulty, author of Fundraising Secrets. When she's going to tell you a little bit of her own case study of how she took an organization, a local cancer foundation, cancer organization, from $0 to $120,000 in 12 weeks. Talk about fundraising fast. It is possible. The difference between, I guess, all of those out there, those boards I see out there, and maybe even sometimes some executive directors, but I'm talking about boards today, and between them and what Maya and I results is that we dropped the poverty mentality. We got entrepreneurial very much about this. We invested in ourselves because we realized we didn't have all the answers, okay? We didn't look to outside consultants with suspicion. Sometimes I see this, I'm sorry, I see this often in the not-for-profit world. I call this, I'm calling you out on this, a poverty mentality. So look, folks, this is the end of the broadcast today. I just really want to leave you with some food for thought. The important thing is leave some comments on this, share this out on the network. Again, we're going to be broadcasting, we're broadcasting here on Facebook through my profile. Friend me if you haven't already. Tell me a little bit who you are. I'd love to chat with you. Through the Facebook group of nonprofit fundraising hackers, on YouTube a little bit later, on LinkedIn on my own profile, look me up, as well as Periscope. And prior is actually a little bit of announcements as well. Snapchat, look me up as well. We are going to be taking on a really interesting subject tomorrow. Again, Maya McNulty, author of Fundraising Secrets, Nonprofit Fundraising Secrets. How to fundraise fast. Imagine this, you're stuck and you've got to come up with money fast for your organization. What do? All right. Again, the link for registering down is on the discussion tomorrow. In order to be able to partake in the discussion, you do have to log in on Zoom. You can watch the broadcast nonetheless from those platforms I mentioned, Periscope, Facebook, YouTube, as well. But most importantly, we'd love to have you in conversation. We'll open up, try the end. Near the end, some dialogue questions from the audience. You gotta have to do that from some Zoom. That's just the technology as it stands. Okay, so folks, thanks very much. Thanks for subscribing, and look, join with us as well on our main one of my main venues right now is our group on Facebook called Nonprofit Fundraising Hackers. All right, thanks so much.